to love your neighbor as yourself. And really just helping people to understand codependency. You know, a lot of times people will try their hardest to appease others, or try to make somebody else not feel uncomfortable, and they call that love. Or they're worried about what other people may think, and they call that love. But a lot of times you notice folks that struggle with codependency or people pleasing, it's really about themselves. It's really about what makes them feel good in the moment. It has nothing to do about the act or the portrayal of loving somebody else, right? But it's about what makes me feel a certain way. How do I protect my feelings? Or I'll even say, well, it's okay. I can take that. But is that truly loving yourself? And even by you allowing certain things and not correcting certain things or not addressing certain things, is that truly loving the person? So we have been talking about dying for love. And we're going to look into what that really means when I say die for love. So we know love is the catalyst. Really, I believe it's a catalyst that produces all the fruits of the Spirit, right? So we know love. The Bible says if we're born of God, we know God. You know, it says, beloved, let us love one another, for God is of love. And everyone that loves is born of God and know God. So if we are born of God, we know God. We're able to walk in love with those around us. But it says in Galatians 5:16, it says, this I say then, walk in the Spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusts against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary the one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. But if ye be led of the Spirit, ye are not under the law. A lot of times we're trying, if you know in Galatians, Paul is saying, you know, I used to try to keep the law. I used to try to be people pleasing. You know, as a Pharisee, I used to try to, you know, to make sure I dot every I and I cross every T. But there was no liberty. He says, for me to go back to the old people pleasing, for me to go back to trying to keep the law, that would completely ignore everything free and wonderful in the grace of God that God had rendered towards us through Christ. So he says, I don't want to repudiate the grace of God. So how do I really address this? Like, how do I really deal with going back, one, not pleasing self and flesh, because sometimes things make you uncomfortable, so you'll take it, right? You'll just say, it's okay, you know, I can take it. But to be honest, sometimes we can't take it. You know, just to be like, I realize I'm still flesh, and I realize I'm still struggling in this area. I realize that, you know, I ain't as dead as I thought I was, because, you know, how could something so simple take me out of the Spirit, right? Because it's not about just being in the Spirit. So I look at it like, okay, folks can put themselves away, and we are by ourselves at home, and we just having a good time. But the minute we encounter situations and circumstances, can we walk and still remain in the Spirit? So to walk, it means to remain regardless of what's going on. Can I still produce the fruit of the Spirit when I'm offended, when I'm mistreated, you know, when someone angers me or I get upset? Can I still remain in the Spirit? So if I'm living in the Spirit, I have to walk. I have to remain in the Spirit regardless of what happens. So it says here, but if ye be led of the Spirit, ye are not under the law. So here he was talking prior to that was about circumcision, and everybody trying to go back to making sure I'm appeasing everybody and I'm doing everything perfect, and I want to be accepted among this crowd and this crowd. I want to be accepted among the Jews. I want to be accepted among the Greeks. And he's saying, you know, look, what you're really doing is you're trying to please flesh because you're trying to be accepted. You're trying to go back to the old way that really doesn't matter, that really can be a stumbling block. And so a lot of times we're trying our hardest to make sure, and when I say codependency, I think about people who are trying to please themselves, people who are trying to not please themselves, please people, but what they're really doing is trying to make themselves, not having to like stand up for themselves or go to bat for themselves. But you're not loving yourself when you do that, nor are you loving people, because sometimes it takes a moment for you to say, I don't like that, and that didn't make me feel good. You know, or, you know, I think that was not the best response or the best action. And so someone told me, they said, I'm just shy. And I said, no, you're not shy. I said, what you're really telling me is you're selfish. And she was like, what? Because you're always thinking about yourself, what they gonna think about me or what they're gonna say about me. So you literally refuse to exemplify all that you are. Nobody can really see how wonderful you are, how intelligent you are, how great you are, because you're worried about somebody finding fault. You're worried about what they're going to think. And so, you know, I even had a moment where I wanted to say something to someone, but I was worried, oh, well, you know, they may see me in a way that I don't want to be seen. Or, you know, they may think that I'm easily offended. But sometimes it's okay to say, hey, I didn't like that. Don't do that. You know, I know this may not have been your intentions, but how can I love my neighbor as myself if I'm willing to just say, you can do something that really hurts me, or you can do something that bothers me, and continually. But if I don't address the issue because I'm worried about what somebody's thinking, really that's about me, and really that's flesh. That's me trying to say, you know what, I'm not going to do what I would normally do. I'm not going to do, you know, what I think is best. The Bible says in Acts 24:16, so I always take pains to have a clear conscience towards both God and man. So in the event that someone, let's say if it's your husband, you know, you're newly married and y'all getting to know each other, you're learning each other, and let's say she does something that you don't like. There's nothing spiritual about just saying, I'm gonna take it. Nah, because what you're doing is you're allowing it to fester instead of addressing it. You're holding it. Then the next time she do it, you say, okay, it's fine. Okay, I'm bigger than this. Sometimes you gotta say, baby, I don't like it. Don't do it anymore. Because a lot of times they may not even know that they're offending you. They may not even know that you don't like that. But if you hold it, then you fester. And what happens is you're feeding your flesh. Because your spirit is saying, you know, yeah, you need to make this right because you want to have a clear conscience. So imagine you trying your hardest to have a clear conscience, but yet you're looking at somebody sideways because they have offended you. That's not love. That's not loving you, and nor is that loving the person, because what you're doing is you are holding things. Your soul, you have no liberty because you're blocked, and even the Bible says, don't be yoked again with any with any bondage. Well, he's talking about don't be entangled in the law. Don't be entangled in the old way of doing things. Well, that old way of doing things could be people pleasing. That old way of doing things, you come so far. I have worked and I've ran companies, and as a boss, as a leader, my job is to mentor and cultivate those that are serving, those that are working in my establishment, because we have a mission and we have a goal that needs that, you know, that we're aiming. There's certain outcomes and impacts that we want to make in our community, right? But if I never address certain things because I'm worried about how you're gonna feel about me, or I'm worried about offending you or upsetting you, you know, or here I am in offense, but I'm worried about just expressing myself, right? we will never, I'm not really doing you justice by being your mentor, by serving, by teaching you, you know.